Hello everyone, today is March 24th, 2020. Today is supposed to be the first day that we return back from class after our spring break. But as many of you are aware, there is the coronavirus outbreak going on, and so we're not planning to come back to class until April 14th, so kind of an extended break. But during this break time, we are still going to continue with class and topics that we need to hit on before the end of the year. The end of the year will be here before you know it. So while I am not currently in my classroom, I am actually in the basement in my home office. The reason being is that I just got back from a trip in Australia, and according to a governor's mandate, anyone that traveled abroad and comes home needs to self-quarantine for 14 days as a precaution. Now, while I do not feel sick, I do not believe I have coronavirus, I am following that precaution because it's a good biosecurity measure. You probably remember our unit on biosecurity that we did in class and the 5 modes of transmission. What we learned about in class as it relates to animals is actually directly correlating to what we're experiencing on the human side. Coronavirus is transmitted through aerosols or droplets, meaning water or air, oftentimes through inhalation or ingestion. Another fun fact for you about coronavirus is that it can be zoonotic to some species, not all, but some. Zoonotic meaning that it can be passed from a human to an animal and vice versa. Now, one species that cannot get coronavirus, as we're experiencing COVID-19, are dogs. So Bo is actually upstairs right now, asleep, probably in front of the TV because that's his normal hangout spot when he's at home. He cannot get COVID-19. So he is perfectly safe, thank goodness. But there are other forms of coronavirus that animals can get. So cattle can get a form of coronavirus. It is not COVID-19. It is a different strain. Similar to how there's different strains of E. coli, there are different strains of coronavirus. So I'm here in my house practicing good biosecurity, and Bo is safe. Later on, I'll make new videos and better videos, hopefully, and you'll get to see what Bo is doing. Maybe he'll be a guest speaker for one of these videos as well. Other information I want to keep you up to date on is the farm is still operating. There are 22 students that have animal projects out there. They are taking care of the animals twice a day, 7 days a week. All animals are being taken care of very, very well. We have 2 baby goats, or what's referred to as kids, as of last week. So that's really exciting. I don't know what their names are, but as you know, I do not name any of the animals. So when we get back to school, we'll probably learn what those are. We have more animals coming to the farm in the coming weeks. We'll have about 40 showing up. So we're going to have a lot of animals coming. I hope to use this channel and these videos to help supplement your learning as we go on through these weeks and maybe even coming months, even when we return back to class, just to help with assignments as well as give you supplemental information. So please check into this periodically. I will have assignments posted a couple times a week with due dates, but you can get all that information from the Canvas page. I will not mention it in the videos very often. As I mentioned prior, I did return back from Australia. My wife is actually in New Zealand before we both met up in Australia. And I learned some really interesting information about the animals and the wildlife found on the other side of the world. One animal that I learned about, which is actually an animal we have here in Iowa and North America, is the possum. Now, this animal is not native to New Zealand or the islands of New Zealand. It was actually introduced when people settled, if you will, in New Zealand, meaning they came over on ships or other modes of transportation, and they brought the possum. And it's an invasive species. It wasn't a good thing what they did. Turns out there is no predator in New Zealand to keep the population of possums in check, meaning that they just reproduce and there's nothing to stop them. One thing that New Zealand has tried to implement is returning the animal populations and animal species, as well as plant species, to what is native to New Zealand, meaning they don't want to have animals or plants there that are not originally from New Zealand. So possums, I guess, are a big thing that they are trying to either decrease the population or eradicate altogether. Another animal that I learned about is what's called the dingo. The dingo is found in Australia. I would highly encourage you to Google pictures of the dingo. They're adorable. If I had to describe it without showing you a picture, I would say it's like taking a husky and a golden retriever, and they had a puppy. They're super adorable. And they're not that big. They're bigger than foxes, but as many of you know, my dog Bo is like twice the size of a dingo, so they're not terribly big. But one thing that the dingoes are good at is hunting and killing other animals, mainly sheep. Sheep production is a big thing in Australia, and so because of this, the country of Australia put up what's called the Dingo Fence. It's over 5,000 kilometers long. Now, we deal with miles here in the United States, so I had to Google it, and let me make sure I get my facts correct for you. 5,000 kilometers is roughly 3,100 miles of fence. That's really long. And it's only tall enough to essentially keep a dog out. So if you would imagine a dog fence that someone might have in their backyard, imagine that 3,100 miles long just to separate dingoes and foxes from getting to sheep populations. Now, this sounds like a great idea at first, stop the dingo from eating the sheep, we can produce more sheep, there's less things to eat the sheep. But what they have found by putting this fence in over decades is it changes the environment of both sides of the fence. So, for example, a kangaroo is a pretty common animal in Australia. I actually got the chance to pet a kangaroo and feed it when I was at the wildlife preserve. Turns out kangaroo populations are really low on the side of the fence where the dingo population is, which makes sense because the dingoes need something to hunt. But on the side of the fence where there's not a dingo population, the kangaroo population is exploding, meaning there's no predator to keep that population in check. They actually found that the dingo is now essentially the top predator in Australia. I'm pulling up more facts because I don't want to feed you guys lies. There was once an animal is the largest native predator in Australia. It's called the Tasmanian tiger. I'd recommend you Google that. The Tasmanian tiger. It was declared extinct back in the 20th century, so the 1900s. That's really unfortunate because the top predator, the top dog, if you will, was taken out. So that completely changes the animal ecosystem and environment. So the dingo fence, which I think was meant for positive things, protecting sheep, has some crazy effects on animals on both sides of the fence. So I would encourage you, if you're interested, Google the dingo fence and look at some pictures and see how it's played out. I'd be curious to know what your opinion is on the dingo fence. Other things that I do want to point out to you is as we go through this break, and hopefully we are back together on April 14th, but there may be some habits you should consider while we're on this extended break or this extended period away from each other. One of them is setting an alarm in the morning. I know that sounds silly, but set an alarm in the morning so you don't just sleep till noon every day, because you'll have a harder time adjusting back when we actually do have school where we're physically meeting together. So I would encourage you to set an alarm and keep that consistent. And with the great technology that phones are, you can set an alarm to automatically go every day of the week if you want, Monday through Friday. So I would encourage you to do that. You can also set an alarm for, it tells you when to go to bed. Now, I'm old, and so I go to bed much earlier than you guys do. But I would encourage you to just have some sort of consistency with whatever you're doing. Other things that I would encourage you to do is don't be sedentary and just stay in your house, meaning don't just sit on the couch and play Fortnite. I would encourage you to get up and move around. Maybe you have a pet, maybe you have a sibling, but go outside, take a walk for 10-15 minutes every now and then, and just move around. Every day, I would encourage you to make a list of 3 things you would like to accomplish with your day. So for example, here's my list that I've made for today. I don't know if you can see it. It's pretty extensive. The difference is I have a full-time job and you guys are students, so you might have a little bit more time on your hands. But I made a list of everything that I want to accomplish today. And as I get them accomplished, I'll just check them off. And so that will actually decrease the amount of anxiety I feel day to day, knowing that I'm getting stuff done in a timely manner and in the correct order. I always start off the day by doing the things that I'm least interested in or things that might bore me, so that way as the day goes on, I'm doing the more fun things or the things that I look forward to the most. So just setting 3 things that you'd like to accomplish with your day and prioritizing them. The last one probably seems a little weird, is drink water. Well, you're like, yeah, Mr. Anderson, I'll drink something. I'll drink water, Gatorade, pop. But no, I would encourage you to drink water or Gatorade or something. I always have my bottle handy. Reason being is my refrigerator is upstairs and it's full. And if I get bored or I think that I'm hungry, I'm just going to run up there and grab a snack and probably not eat the most healthy thing. And what I found through research, as well as just general experience, is sometimes you're not actually hungry, you're just thirsty. But you think you're hungry. I know that sounds weird, but I would encourage you to drink water. Going forward, I will be posting your assignment on Canvas, so please check that out when you get done watching the video. And I will check in later with you, hopefully toward the end of this week. All right, I hope you have a good Tuesday. Talk to you later.